I'm Stephen Jordan.
And I'm Sarah Cagna, and this is Lee Update.
This Sunday kicks off Convocation, a time for the whole university to come together to worship and dedicate the rest of this semester to the Lord. Join us at 7:30 p.m. on Sunday to hear from our president, Dr. Mark Walker, as he starts us off this Convocation week. There will be 4 speakers with a different speaker every night from Sunday through Wednesday. And unless you are specifically Convocation exempt, you will need to get credit from watching at least 3 of these 4 services. Don't miss out.
September is National Suicide Prevention Month. Tomorrow, September 10th, we will have Suicide Prevention Awareness Walk around campus. It starts at 7 p.m. in Alumni Park. Follow the Office of Student Care on Instagram at LeeU Student Care to sign up for the walk and receive a free t-shirt. This will be an intentional time for us to focus on how we can show others their life matters, as well as providing space to honor those who have lost family or a friend to suicide or struggle with these thoughts themselves.
The School of Business and the Office of Alumni Relations are partnering to offer the Young Alumni Lecture Series. On Thursday, September 23rd, alums and co-founders of the Link app, Elliot Potter and Jared Matson, will be sharing their story in Pengel Hall at 5:30 p.m., followed by a Q&A session. Free pizza and drinks will be provided. Don't miss this opportunity to network and learn from our bright young alumni.
We have a busy weekend of sports ahead of us. Our men's soccer team plays Tusculum University at home Saturday night at 7. Men's tennis plays Cumberland University here tomorrow at 1. And our women's soccer and volleyball teams will be out playing hard on the road. But you can tune into the games via live stream links on the LeeU Flames website. Follow along with all of our Flames athletics by following at LeeU Flames on Instagram and Twitter.
Thanks for watching. And once again, I'm Stephen Jordan.
And I'm Sarah Cagna, and you've just been updated.
Make sure that your mask is securely in place. And once you have secured your mask, you can secure your neighbor's mask. Before we get started, hey, shout out to Coach Martin. Happy birthday today. We're going to spend the morning celebrating the achievement of our athletes. But before we do that, let's sing together for a few minutes and worship the Lord.
Our only ways. I'm not gonna be afraid. many of you believe that God is worthy no matter what circumstances we go through? Doesn't matter, He's sovereign, He's faithful no matter what. He's always worthy to be praised. There was a moment when the lights went out, when death had claimed its victory. The King of love had given up His life, the darkest day in history. There on a cross they made for sinners, for every curse His blood atoned. One final breath and it was finished, but not the end we could have known. For the earth began to shake, and the veil was torn. What sacrifice was made as the heavens roar? Come on, sing this with all you got. Oh, hail King Jesus. Oh, hail the Light of heaven and earth. Oh, hail King Jesus. Oh, hail the Savior of the world. Jesus, we thank you that our obedience and our faithfulness and our lack of faithfulness, even in all of it, God, you are constant and you never change and you never stop speaking and giving us grace upon grace. God, let us never take that for granted, the sacrifice that you have made for us, God. Jesus, let us never take it for granted. Holy Spirit, we ask you to dwell on us now and throughout our days, God, that we would just be in tune with you at every moment, Jesus, and that we, in response for all you've done, worship you with how we live, not just when we sing, not just when we're gathered together and looking at words on a screen, but God, every single moment. The way we love people. God, we look to you, we honor you, we love you. In Jesus' name, amen.
Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Moffitt and Lee. You worship today's chapel is a very special chapel as we are celebrating and recognizing the accomplishments of our athletic teams from last year. You may recall last year in the fall, all of our sports teams had to be postponed to the spring except for golf and cross country. We had no sports going on in the fall because of COVID-19. So in the spring, every one of our athletic teams was playing, and we had the greatest sports season in the history of Lee University last year. But we never had the opportunity to celebrate that, so we decided coming into the fall of this year, we would take a chapel service and celebrate and recognize the accomplishment of our athletic teams. So here's what I'd like. Any student athlete, coach, trainer, anyone associated with the athletic department, would you just stand where you are, please, and let's recognize and celebrate what they accomplished last year. Can we do that right now? Athletics is such an integral part of what takes place here at Lee University, and it's all under the direction of our Vice President for Operations, Cole Strong, as well as our athletic director, Larry Carpenter. So let me tell you what's going to happen here in this chapel service. We're going to have a video that's going to highlight the accomplishments of these teams from last year. Then our Chancellor, Dr. Khan, is going to come and make a special trophy presentation. I'll let him explain the significance of these trophies. And then he's going to introduce 3 of our student athletes who are going to come and share their story here at Lee. So let's show this video and see what our teams did last year.
Well, good morning, everybody. I think I talked with this. Whoa, yes, good morning. Athletics has always been a big part of Lee's life, as President Walker just told us. And let me tell you a little bit of background for 3 trophies that are going to be presented. For many years, we competed in something called the NAIA, National Association of Intercollegiate Athletics. Very tough sports, about 300 colleges and universities around the country. But several years ago, we decided to take it up a notch, join NCAA Division II. NCAA has 3 divisions, as most of you know. The big schools are the power football conferences and so on, are Division I. The non-scholarship schools are Division III. But Division II is that bread and butter, the heart and soul of NCAA. And we decided to make the big step, not stop at D3. We'd let somebody else do that. We just try to jump straight to D2. We had a goal when we did that. And our goal was this, that we felt like with the right athletes and coaches working hard, within 10 years, we would like to win conference championships. And we decided to get in the toughest conference in the NCAA Division II, the Gulf South Conference. Now, especially if you're not from the South, you may not know much about the conferences, but to give you an example, the Gulf South Conference is referred to around NCAA D2 as the SEC, the Southeastern Conference of Division II. It includes some powerhouses that have been prominent in national sports for many years. So we decided to jump right into this very tough conference, the Gulf South. The Gulf South has 3 awards that they give every year, one to the best all-around women's athletic program in the conference, one to the best men's athletic program in the conference, and then the big kahuna is to the best overall athletic program in the conference. This is given based on the performance, not just of 1 or 2 outstanding teams, but of all the teams competing across the board. We set ourselves a goal that within 10 years, we'd like to not only come into this big bad bear of a conference, but we'd like to be competitive, and we would like to win one of these trophies. They give it at the end of every season in a big banquet, one of these 3 commissioners' trophies. And I'm here with a great pleasure of announcing to you that we've now been in NCAA competing for 6 years. And in our 6th year, we have overachieved, and we have reached not 1, not 2. Well, we've reached any goal we might have reasonably set for 10 years. So I would like to join me on stage just to show off for you. I would like Brittany White, who is a junior from the lacrosse team. Brittany, our women won the women's trophy for the best women's program in the Gulf South early. They won it year before last. And we were so proud of them. It was a wonderful, wonderful moment to be able to accept that on behalf not just of the lacrosse team, but all of our women's teams. This is the trophy we won this past year for the best women's program in the Gulf South. Well, we knew eventually the men would come along and match that. We had confidence in our men's teams, and sure enough, this past year, who we got? Tom Zazzaro, a baseball player, senior from... You know our men's teams are not going to sit back and let the women bring home all the trophies, and so this past year, our men's teams in all these sports across the board won this trophy as the best men's athletic program in the Gulf South. And then what they do is they combine all these points, and they say, this is the king of the hill. This is the school that has the best wall-to-wall athletic program competitively in the conference. And Celine Ritter, would you step forward, please, and we'll show you the big one. Celine's on our cross-country and track team, a national champion herself, individually runner, and she's here with the overall trophy, which we won this year. We swept them. It's a trifecta, all 3 of the big stuff. Give a big round of applause for our athletic team. Thank you very much. Thank you. Now, if you get a chance, and you please come watch our athletic teams play and perform, because they're not just entertaining, they're champions right across the board. It's really outstanding athletes and outstanding athletics. Now, what I want to do now is introduce to you 3 of these athletes who were part of winning all this hardware and have been outstanding leaders on our championship teams for the last few years. I'm going to introduce 3 of them. They're going to come in that order without further introduction. First, we're going to hear from a runner, Caleb Eagleson. Caleb is a senior. He runs both cross country and track. He's a youth ministry major from New Palestine, Indiana, and he has been a 4-time all-conference choice, and he helped our men's teams win in 2017 and 2018. We're going to hear first from Caleb Eagleson. Then we're going to hear from a women's basketball player, Hallie Hughes. Hallie is a senior. She's from right here in Cleveland, Tennessee. She actually graduated last year and is now in an MBA program. She has been an integral part of our women's basketball team for several years. She helped lead the Lady Flames to the program's first Gulf South Tournament Championship in 2019, and she's currently president of the Student Athlete Advisory Committee, Hallie Hughes. Then we're going to hear from a men's basketball player, Quay Kennedy. Quay is a junior. He's a communication major from Columbia, Tennessee, and last year he was named the Gulf Southeast Player of the Year and also selected to the all-region team in the southern region of the NCAA. He helped guide the men's basketball team to their first NCAA tournament victory back in March, so we're going to hear from Quay. So first, Caleb, then Hallie, then Quay Kennedy.
So, you know when you tell yourself you're never, ever going to do something? Well, that's how I ended up here at Lee University. I think my freshman year of high school, my brother Seth was a student athlete here, and he was a cross-country and track athlete. And the first weekend that me and my parents came to visit him, it was a fun weekend, and as we were leaving, getting in the car to go back, my mom looks back at me and says, "Caleb, do you think you'll ever want to come here?" And I looked at her, and my immediate response was, "Mom, I will never, ever come to Lee University." And, well, you see how that turned out. But that was the first time in my life when I realized that the Lord put Lee University on my radar. And, that was the beginning of everything. And Coach Morgan invited me to do a visit in November of my senior year. And literally within the first hour of being here, this team was awesome. I mean, I loved Coach Morgan. I loved the guys on the team. They were so welcoming. It was such a fun weekend. I'm going to leave a lot of the details out because you probably don't want to hear most of it. But it was awesome. And seriously, I just fell in love with everything that this school had to offer. I fell in love with this team. And I had visited so many schools. And, most of these athletes who've done visits, you know how they welcome you. And they try to make you feel welcome. But there's nothing like Lee. And when I first arrived here as a freshman, after all those years, and finally committing to come here, it was the exact same thing. We had that first week of no classes and just training and, getting to go cliff jumping or just hanging out. And it just confirmed everything for me. I fell in love again with the school. Every single year I fall in love with the school even more. And, all the bonfires, cliff jumping, Super Smash Bros. Tournaments that I always win, crumble cookie runs, Bible studies, practices, and traveling competitions. I wouldn't trade it for the world. It has truly molded me into the person I am today, and I hope that's a good person. I've been told it is, and I hope it is. But I will say one of the biggest struggles, I think for me personally and for our team as a whole, and probably for every single person in this room, was definitely when COVID hit. I remember sitting at a cabin on spring break, just laying in my hammock. I was there with my fiance and a few friends, and all of a sudden we started getting, we saw this stuff on Twitter, this is closing down, seasons might be canceled, blah, blah, blah. All that stuff is going on. And all of a sudden we got this email from Lee. It was like, hey, we're extending spring break 2 weeks. We're going to see what happens. And then all of a sudden 2 days later, the entire semester was canceled. The spring season was canceled. Everything was canceled. So I don't know what it's like for other sports, but for running, it sucks. Training alone, it is awful. And we had to do that for about 5 straight months. And it was, for me personally, it was extremely, extremely hard to see the purpose in our training because we weren't going to be racing until September, and it was March, the middle of March. And one day, Coach Morgan held a Zoom meeting for all of us. And I just remember at the end of that Zoom meeting, like just getting to see all my teammates for the first time since everything had been canceled, I realized, like, there's my purpose, my entire team. Everything I wake up and do every single day for this team, the training and all of that, that's for these guys over here. That's for the success of our team. And I think we all kind of realized that. And just through those 5 months of going through COVID, it was just really incredible to see the encouragement that came from each and every one of us. And I think we took advantage of that, and we're better than ever. And it was just a great experience for me to just dive even deeper with this team, if that was even possible. And just through classes at Lee and through Coach Morgan's leadership, Dr. Walker's Christian leadership class, I have learned, that's right, I have learned so much about what it's like to be a Christ-like leader. And I truly hope and pray that my teammates have seen that in me, and anybody I've come in contact with has seen that in me. I truly hope that you have. And I can tell you right now, every single one, I've seen it in every single one of them. And man, I just cannot express how much of a blessing it is to be a part of this school, to be a part of this athletic program, and just the person that this school has molded me into. So here I am now doing the exact thing I told my mom I would never, ever do. I'm at Lee, going into my 5th year. I'm old, I'm 23. And I pray this is the best year yet. So to Coach Morgan and to my teammates, thank you so much for everything. I did it without getting choked up. I love you guys. Looking forward to the best year yet.
I started my Lee experience as such a quiet and shy freshman. I did grow up just down the road, as Dr. Kahn said, and I thought that going to college in my hometown would make it easier because then I wouldn't have to have a fresh start. I would know some people coming. But it didn't make it easier at all, actually. My freshman year was incredibly hard. I was not used to studying, so my first semester I got here and I got my first exam grade. It was a 55. I had never failed any classwork before, much less a test. So it was hard for me, but I learned quickly the importance of studying and retaining the information that I was learning. Well, then I added basketball to the mix, which made it a little bit worse, a little bit harder. I had to learn all these new plays and defensive strategies and a whole new pregame routine. And my first year of ball, I was the only freshman in my class, and I still am the only in my class. And it made it hard because I had to figure everything out on my own. All these upperclassmen, they knew exactly what they were doing. They had been there before. And so balancing this with my studies was the hardest part of my college career. And I remember waking up early one morning at 6 a.m. for practice. And if you know Coach Rowe, you know he kind of likes to talk. And so this morning, it was kind of, we were wrapping up practice. He was recapping, talking at the end of practice, and my knees locked up and I passed out. And I just remember thinking, oh my gosh, like I have such a long 4 years ahead. But each year flew by even faster and it was better than the last. My sophomore year was a good year. I'd kind of caught on to how to balance these elements of life. And basketball was a blast because, like Dr. Kahn said, we had won the conference championship. Then junior year got better. I was starting to hang out with other people outside of basketball, which gave me a different perspective on college. And so I realized that it wasn't only athletes that had the struggle of how to balance out these 3 parts. And so my nursing major friends, I saw them wake up at 4 a.m. for clinicals, and then other days they were staying up until 4 to study for exams. My Greek life friends were trying to balance what social events they were going to go to that week and which one they would stay back in order to keep their studies high. And then I had other friends who didn't do any extracurricular activities at all because they had to work to pay for the classes that they were taking. And so I had just thought that I had finally overcome my own challenges and COVID hits. And I'll never forget my team, we were eating that night, dinner, we were going to host the region tournament the next day, which in the athletic world is such a great accomplishment. And so then we get a text from our coach saying, hey, when you guys get done eating, y'all come over to the gym and let's talk. And we kind of had an idea, but we didn't realize how heartbreaking it would be. And at first we thought, okay, maybe it would just be a delay. We could play next week. And then it turned into, okay, now, COVID will be over in 3 months. Next season will be back to normal. But it wasn't. Here we are a year and a half later, and it seems like deja vu. And it was so hard to practice day in and day out. I had both senioritis, and I didn't know if we were going to have a season or not. And so the virus, everyone was talking about it all the time. It's the only topic of discussion, and it made it so hard to focus on school and basketball. But my team did it, and we did it well. We still ended up with a winning season and another appearance in the national tournament. But by this point, basketball, it was no longer a focal point in my life, but rather just a bonus, because I was glad that I got to play for my senior year. But the most important thing about my junior year and my senior year was how close I was able to grow in my relationships. I strengthened my friendship with my roommate of 4 years. We went running every single day during quarantine. And then my sister moved in with me, making us even closer and I didn't know that was possible. And then my teammates and I, we actually got more time to spend together off the court, which was kind of neat. And each of my friends, athlete or not, carried such a big influence in my life. Some were negative and they taught me lessons, but were just as crucial to my growth. And those who were positive held me accountable, and they stuck with me through the good and the bad. But every person that crossed my path helped me find my purpose at Lee. The most important relationship that I was able to grow in was with the Lord. I truly believe each year got better because each year I invested more time and effort in prayer and the Word. And then Lee helped me with this through their mission and their vision for its students. So I had finally found out why I was here. It was to expand my relationships, especially the one with the Lord. So if you're a freshman and you're stressed about how the next 4 years will go, it gets better. And if you're a sophomore, still figuring things out, have trust both in yourself and in God, because you'll get there. If you're a junior or senior, whether you think you have it figured out or not, you will exceed great measures eventually. My favorite quote is one from Denzel Washington. He says, "Everyone has talent to succeed, but do they have the guts to fail?" And I think this is important for every aspect in life, because for some, it may take days or weeks to succeed. For others, it takes years or decades. And so I've had many failures in my life, especially during my years here at Lee. But I finally figured out after 2 years why I was here. And so I just encourage you guys to keep going, because you can't get there unless you try. Psalms 27:13-14 says, "I am sure now that I will see God's goodness in the earth. Stay with God, take heart, and don't quit."
Good morning. My time at Lee has been much more than what I expected. Throughout my time here, I've met great people and created lifelong relationships. Honestly speaking, when I first came to Lee, I didn't know what to think. We all envision what we think college is going to be like, but it never turns out that way. From not knowing anyone to taking a chance on this university in Cleveland, Tennessee, having brothers and teammates now that I can actually call family. It seems like yesterday that I was sitting in City Caf telling my coaches that this is where I wanted to be. My time here at Lee has been great, but I can't say that it has been without some adversity. My first year, I lost my grandfather, and a couple weeks later, I ended up tearing my meniscus in my left knee. So I finished out the season, and then I had surgery that spring, and that was a really tough spring, actually. My sophomore year, I ended up losing my other grandfather, and I began to think, could it really get any more worse? Well, this was also the year that COVID hit. We were having possibly one of the best seasons since becoming Division II. Unfortunately, COVID had other plans, to the point to where stores didn't have tissue or water. But we were actually in Lakeland, Florida for our first ever NCAA tournament appearance in school history. And, we were there, we had got a practice in, went out to eat, and then we started seeing on social media and everything where word was getting around that COVID is getting serious. So we ended up having to get back on the bus and come back to Cleveland. We all thought we were going to have a few extra days of spring break, but that turned out to be a long 3 months. Playing college basketball, it has always been a big part of my identity. We spent an entire year of the offseason, preseason training, to have a chance to do something special as a team. Hours upon hours on the court and in the weight room to get stronger in preparation for the best part of the year. Having worked so incredibly hard to get to March and then to have everything canceled is pretty tough. And I mean, mentally and physically, like that takes a toll on you, honestly. But it was kind of impossible to accept it right away. You know, like it seemed unfair. It seemed like everything me and my teammates had worked for was all for nothing because we couldn't finish what we had started. I know it seems ridiculous, kinda, and selfish that we were so upset over our season being ended. But this is one of the most important things in our lives. Basketball and school were a constant thing in my life. Like, I'm a creature of habit. Like, I like consistency, I like set plans, and I like having goals to work towards. But being back at home without my team, you know, these guys right here, they done became my family. I mean, not being able to sit in class with a couple of them was a very, very difficult adjustment for me. My own experience with the COVID pandemic is difficult to put into words, actually. As a student athlete, my first concern was how would it affect my education and playing a sport that I love. Like many of you, I began to worry about my health, of my friends, and my family. From it being a distant idea to all of a sudden being a threat to everyone's health seemed overwhelming. But we're young, we're healthy, it won't affect us, right? Well, that was a lie, I'm sorry to tell you. But our team had been home since March, only to return at the end of July to work at camp together. We distanced, we wore masks, we really done everything we could possibly do to stay healthy. But a few weeks later, everyone got home, group chat started buzzing a little bit. Everybody was like, I really ain't feeling too good, and you got a me either. You got your me either, then a couple more guys like me too, me three. But at that point, we like, this can't be us, like, but it was. So, but for me, a short stay in the hospital and a few days of feeling pretty bad was my experience. But fortunately, we all started feeling a little better after a few days and felt like we were getting back to normal. It made me appreciate my family and my friends and my teammates and the experience that I've grown to love at Lee. Over time, it became fuel for me to work harder than I had before. I made it a point to exercise every single day and think about ways I can improve for the next opportunity we will have to be able to play basketball. It was a challenge without a doubt, but one thing I have learned throughout my time with Lee men's basketball is that facing and overcoming adversities only makes you stronger. I know that has been the case for me and my teammates this past year and a half. When we finally got a chance to return last year, we hoped to be back to normal, but that still wasn't the case. Like, we didn't have none of y'all in there, no fans. Literally no fans. It was pretty awful. But like, no fans, weekly test. I can tell you, if I ever have to put another thing up my nose, I'll be so happy. But you know, we made it work. We made sacrifices and had another special season. It was different, but it was special. We made it to the round of 32 and won our first ever NCAA tournament game in a Division II era. It's something I'll never forget. Even though we have been through a lot this past year and a half, I've learned the best parts of Lee and my experience is doing it together and with one another. We're not meant to do it alone, and I know for sure I'm not. But when a lot of people were in my ear last spring telling me I should make the jump to Division I, telling me to consider all my options and that there wasn't anything else to accomplish, honestly, you know, I'm feeling good about it. I'm like, yeah, I like to hear that. But then I got to thinking, I'm like, this is my family right here. Like, I want to come back to that. Like, Lee had made me feel at home since day one. So my heart was here, and I know there's still a lot to accomplish, and I know we can do that. So I think we have a chance to have a special team this season, and Lord willing, I can't wait to do it together with you, our friends, our classmates, our professors, our friends, and our family.
Hey, let's give it up to Caleb, Howley, and Quay one more time as a group. You know, I think one of the things about things like athletics, these teams embody perhaps one of the most inspirational and challenging verses in the entire Bible. In 1 Corinthians 10:31, the Apostle Paul is writing to the church, of course, at Corinth, and he says, so whether you eat or drink or whatever you do all to the glory of God. So Lee athletes, thank you so much for using your abilities to bring God glory and to bring life to this campus and give us a chance to engage in a fuller life as a student body, as a university body. If you would, one more time, let's express appreciation to the athletic department for such a fantastic year. Remember, convocation starts Sunday night. Dr. Walker will kick us off at 7:30. And if you would please stand and join me in the college benediction. And then once I'm done, the code will be up on the screen for you to enter into the I Attended app. If you would, join me in the benediction. Now let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in thy sight, O Lord, my strength and my Redeemer. Amen. Have a great day.